All right, today we're going to be in Exodus chapter 24. Now, there is 18 verses in chapter 24, and mainly it's going to be Moses coming down from the Lord, talking to the tribe of Israel, making a blood covenant with them, between them and God, and then Moses going back up the mountain. So yeah, that's what we're going to see. Exodus chapter 24. That's basically what we're going to see. Now, this is a short chapter. We've seen longer chapters in Exodus, but yeah, that's what we're going to see in this chapter. Exodus 24 is about the ceremony, and then he's going to sprinkle the blood on the people, and they're going to make a covenant with God, and he's going to go back up the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Reminds you of something else, doesn't it? Genesis chapter 9, if you don't remember. Yeah, that's what we're going to see. So don't forget to share this with somebody and read this chapter on your own. Don't just let me read it to you and then you expect to know everything in this chapter. I expect you to read it as well so that you can gain insight from it and underline things that you might see or different things of that sort. So let's get right into it on the Christian Boy Podcast. Our memory verse for the week comes from Psalm 37, verse 30. It says, "The mouth of the righteous utters wisdom. His tongue speaks what is just." Then he said to Moses, "Go up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of Israel's elders, and bow and worship at a distance. Moses alone is to approach the Lord, but the others are not to approach, and the people are not to go up with him." Moses came and told the people all the commands of the Lord and all the ordinances. Then all the people responded with a single voice, "We will do everything that the Lord has commanded." And Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. He rose early the next morning and set up an altar and 12 pillars for the 12 tribes at the base of the mountain. Then he sent out young Israelite men, and they offered burnt offerings, sacrificed bulls, and as a fellowship offerings to the Lord. Moses took half the blood and set it in basins. The other half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Then he took the covenant scroll and read it aloud to the people. They responded, "We will do and obey everything that the Lord has commanded." Moses took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, "This is the blood covenant that the Lord has made with you concerning all these words." Then Moses went up with Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of Israel's elders. And they saw the God of Israel. Beneath his feet was something like a pavement made of sapphire stone, as clear as the sky itself. God did not harm the Israelite nobles. They saw him and they ate and drank. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and stay there, so that I may give you the stone tablet with the law and commandments I have written for their instruction." So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua and went up to the mountain of God. He told the elders, "Wait here for us until we return to you. Aaron and Hur are here with you. Whoever has a dispute should go to them." When Moses went up to the mountain, the cloud covered it. The glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the 7th day, he called to Moses from the cloud. The appearance of the Lord's glory to the Israelites was like a consuming fire on the mountaintop. Moses entered the cloud as he went up the mountain, and he remained on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. So this chapter is really interesting. What I love about this chapter is a few different things. Because if you've read the book of Exodus before, you know how the story goes and what's going to happen. And I believe Exodus chapter 32 and how the people are going to go astray. So there's a few things that I see in this verse with a future sight of what's going to happen in this chapter. First things first, we hear the people in verse 3, say that we will do everything that the Lord has commanded. Now, God had already commanded them from chapter 20 to chapter 23 of different things that they should be doing for the Lord. The first one being love the Lord with all your heart. The 10 commandments, like I said, the first one being the 10 commandments, as we call them. Love the Lord with all your heart. Do not worship any idols. And the people promise that they're going to do this right now. They make a blood covenant with the Lord. They sprinkle the blood on the altar to represent God, being the blood being sprinkled on God, and then they sprinkle the blood on the people, and the people respond that we will do everything that the Lord has commanded. Now, if you don't understand what's going on, and I believe, let me make sure, Exodus chapter 32, when Moses comes down from the mountain, the people that have just made this promise in chapter 24 are actually doing whatever they want, worshiping the gods that they want to, and the God that they make is just a golden calf, an image that they make for themselves, and they worship that because Moses is up the mountain for too long. And so we see people make promises that they cannot keep. And we as people should not even make promises. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 6 verses, I lost them. In Matthew chapter 5 verse 37, it says, let your yes be a yes and let your no be a no. And when we are asked if we would do a certain thing, we should either say yes or no, depending on what we're going to do. Now, if God asked me, will I serve him forever? I would say, with all my heart, I would try my best to do so, because we all know that we fall short. For them to say that we are going to serve you and do everything that you have commanded us, and then not even 40 days go by before they're worshiping their own idols and doing their own things, says something about them and also says something about us. Because, oftentimes I like to talk about Israel and how they did certain things or what they've been doing. But in my own life, I've said things to the Lord that I'm going to start doing, and then I end up stopping or not doing something. You guys know really well. Some weeks I forget to upload a podcast, forget to record a podcast and give it to you guys. And that's not what I try to do every week. I try to keep up with every week, but sometimes I fall short. Now, is it wrong to fall short? No, it's not wrong to, it does mess you up, but it's human nature for us to fall short. We're not going to be perfect. Why are we going to fall short? Yes. And knowing that we're not perfect and are going to fall short, is it wrong for us to make promises guaranteeing that we will do something that we're not going to do? Yes. We should not make promises that we know we cannot keep. If I know I cannot keep the promise of giving you $1 million, I'm not going to make the promise to give you $1 million. I only have, a couple of dollars in my account as we speak right now. And so we should not do things that we're not supposed to do. Another thing that I see in this chapter is towards the end, Moses puts Aaron and Hur in charge. In verse 14, he puts them in charge for any disputes that they have. In chapter 32, we're going to find out that Aaron is actually one of the people who helped build the golden calf and help make them sin. And so I say this when I say, beware of who you put in charge of things that God has ordained to you, and beware of who you put in charge while you're trying to handle God's business, because not everybody's on the same page as you, and not everybody's seeking what is righteous for the people of God just as you are. You may think that they're a good person. Aaron has done miracles with God. Aaron sees all those things in chapter 32, but he still ends up failing at the job that he's supposed to do of being a good judge to the people and a good conscience for the people while Moses was handling the business with God. And so, that's what I see in this. And then also we see another reference to 40 days and 40 nights. What's up with 40 days and 40 nights in the Bible? It's the second time, at least the second time we've seen it. In fact, we've seen it more before these chapters. Forgive me, I forgot. But I do know we saw it with Noah and the rain that came for 40 days and 40 nights before it subsided and they were stuck. They were on the ark. And now we see it again with Moses going up the mountain. He's up there for 40 days and 40 nights. We also see Jesus when he's fasting in the wilderness. He's there for 40 days and 40 nights. So comment. Let me know what you think about these 40 days and 40 nights. What is it about the number 40 that's so perfect? That's 5 times 8, 8 times 5, 4 times 10. I don't know. It's not the number 7. So let me know what you guys think about that. 40 days and 40 nights. What does that have to do with anything? And so, now Moses, what we're going to see in these later chapters is Moses is going to be on the mountain with God, and God is going to be giving him instruction on a dwelling place for the Lord, different garments, the altar of incense, anointing oil, and these different things. So that's what we're going to see in the later chapters. I pray that you're blessed by this. Let me know what you think about this chapter and how things went out and how things are going all of a sudden. And let me know what you think. Would you have been able to make the promise to the Lord that you're going to follow all his ordinances Or would you have been a little bit more wiser, knowing that you possibly will fail because of our human nature, and try to do better? Anyway, this has been the Christian Boy Podcast, Exodus chapter 24. God bless you and see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Christian Boy Podcast. I pray that you are blessed by this episode. There's a few ways you can stay connected to the Christian Boy Podcast. First, you can like the Christian Boy Podcast, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Spotify, and rate this podcast. Let us know how we're doing. Also, you can follow us on social media. You can scan this QR code or click the link in the description to see all the ways that you can follow the Christian Boy Podcast. Third, you can go to the website and read the newest newsletter that has come out and see all the different content that's on the website for you to enjoy. Also, you can text me at 662-371-8877 to let me know if you have any comments or questions. You can type those there, or you can just let me know how I'm doing. Send me a blessing, send me a prayer, or anything that you want to send me on via text. Also, God bless you. I pray that you have a blessed day. And lastly, be sure to continue to strive towards what God has for you in your life. God bless you.